And we are live.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Finance Committee meeting, the first one of the term. We're going to start with our elections of the chair and vice chair. Are there any nominations for chair? Yeah, Councillor Sullivan.
I nominate Greg Martin. Councillor Greg Martin.
Councillor Martin, do you accept the nomination?
Yes, I do. Thanks.
Okay. Are there any other nominations for chair? Okay, seeing none, Councillor Martin, you are acclaimed as chair. Are there any nominations for vice chair?
I nominate Councillor Sullivan.
Okay, Councillor Sullivan, do you accept the nomination?
I accept.
Okay, accept the nomination. Are there any other nominations for vice chair? Okay, seeing none, Councillor Sullivan, you are acclaimed as vice chair. We're just going to take 2 seconds to get Councillor Martin set up in the seat here, and then we will get started.
Okay, has attendance been taken?
Roll's been taken.
Okay. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest for items appearing on the agenda? Okay, stands. Separation of budget reports. Item 6.1.1 external audit, annual independence letter, engagement letter, and audit plan is separated as there's a presentation associated with this item. 6.1.2 paramedic service draft 2023 budget will be separated as a 2/3 vote is required. Members of the committee, are there any other items that you wish to separate for discussion purposes? Okay, seeing none. Can I have a mover and a seconder for all items for consent not separated for discussion purposes? I'll move it. Thank you. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, we'll call the question.
Just prior to the opening of the vote, for clarification, the item subject to the vote are as follows: 6.1.3 2023 property tax policy, 6.1.4 allocation of one-time 2022 surplus items, 6.1.5 securities held for subdivision and development project policy, 6.1.6 quarterly casino update and amended contribution agreement, 6.2.1 multi-year budget update, and 6.2.2 the minutes. And all items not separated carry unanimously on a recorded vote. Those voting in favor: Mayor Davis, Councillor Sullivan, Councillor Van Tilburg, Councillor Hunt, Councillor Caputo, and Councillor Martin.
Okay, thank you. We have no delegations registered for this evening. We have one presentation on our agenda today. I would ask Julie Bates. Yeah, come forward and speak to item 6.1.1. Please introduce yourself and begin your presentation. You have 10 minutes. Members of the committee may ask questions of the presenter during the discussion of the item after it has been placed on the floor.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Julie Bates, and I'm a partner with Millard Rouse and Roseborough, and I'm one of the partners in charge of the city audit for the fiscal year ended December 31st, 2022. We'll start with the independence letter. So I'll go through this in order that the package was circulated. So this letter, the purpose of this letter is to communicate with you, the Finance Committee, if we have any existing relationships or new relationships that may impede on our independence. So this letter is just confirming that we are not aware of any existing or new relationships with any management staff in the Finance Department, with any staff or partners at Millards that may interfere with our independence during the audit. We do have dates on this near the bottom of the letter that it's due or up to the date of the letter, but we do continuously monitor this if we have any new staff or any new promotions within the office within the year. And we are diligent as to which staff are put on the particular jobs. The third page of the independence letter just outlines any of the fees that were paid to us in the 2022 year end. You can see for the audit engagement is the RFP that was dated back in 2019, or those fees are in accordance with. Oops. Yeah. The next letter is the engagement letter. So this would have been very similar or the same that you've seen in previous years. So we are pleased to confirm that our acceptance and the understanding of the nature and scope of the terms of the audit engagement. Our objectives of the audit are to obtain reasonable assurance whether the financial statements present fairly as a whole from material misstatement. It then goes through a bit of a laundry list of the responsibilities of the auditor. We conduct our audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards. And those standards require us to comply with any ethical requirements. And also as part of the audit, in accordance with our auditing standards, we exercise professional judgment and maintain professional skepticism throughout. Then we also we identify and assess risks that we think of certain areas may be a little riskier in the financial statements than others. We obtain an understanding of the internal controls, and we use these controls to design our procedures to ensure that the transactions going into the general ledger are in compliance with those policies and our standards. We evaluate the appropriateness of those policies. We also conclude on the management's use of going concern, so meaning that the city, the corporation would continue to go on without any issues moving forward. We also evaluate the structure of the financial statements. It also has a bit of a laundry list of management's responsibilities. We talk about making sure we have access to all the information. If there's any known instances of fraud or any items of nature that may affect the financial statements, that they bring that to our attention, as well as give us unrestricted access to any staff in which we would like to speak to corroborate any evidence in the findings that we have. As part of the audit process, we make inquiries of management as well through questions, confirmations, and discussions. And if there, by any chance, we do find any differences, we call these misstatements identified in the audit, we do talk to management to rectify the situation with that. Beginning on page 3 of this report, it's more in terms of our contract, talks about our confidentiality, how we communicate electronically. We do have a share file that is a secure portal that we exchange any electronic information on there. We do use emails, but any attachments are uploaded to that share file. Any use of our information as well as the distribution of our report. And if our auditor's report is to be reproduced in any form, we do need to read any annual report or where that will be just to ensure ahead of time that it's been reproduced accurately. It then goes on to talk about our file inspections, any advice, other services that we can offer, any governing legislation that we have. About halfway down on page 5. Oops. Just talks about our fees. So this goes back to the 2019 RFP. And it has been received and signed back in November for us to start. And the last couple pages, it is a reproduction of the independent auditor's report. So this is what we expect with no issues coming, that this is what the report would look like for the December 31st, 2022 year end. And the third report is our planning letter. So the purpose of this is to ensure two-way communication between ourselves, the auditors, and you, the finance committee. We want to make sure that we know the responsibilities of us as the auditors, which was outlined in the engagement letter, as well as it's a bit of a list for the finance committee members for responsibility. Obviously be available to assist. If we do find anything that needs to come to your attention, I would then contact Councillor Martin as the chair to discuss any matters that we feel necessary and then go from there. If there's anything that you as councillors would like us to maybe look into or have any questions or concerns, you can feel free to contact me directly at the office. With respect to a plan scope and timing, We have started interim work in the week of December 5th, so we're continuing to work through that. We'd like to try and get as much work that we can do ahead of time before the year end, so then it lightens the load a little bit in March when we come back for our year end field work. We have set materiality this year at 2.5 million, which represents 1% of the previous year's gross revenue. Materiality is a number that we set as auditors. If we find any errors or misstatements, they go on a summary list. And if it would accumulate to 2.5 million, we determine this would be the number that would affect the users. We do discuss any differences with management. In the last couple of years, we haven't had anything on that unadjusted list. We're still battling with COVID-19, so anything would affecting that, but there's no other major differences during this period. As part of our audit, we did mention that we talk about or review the internal controls. So it's just an understanding of these controls. We do not offer an audit opinion on these controls as part of the financial statement audit. But if we do find any significant deficiencies, we will then make some recommendations how to correct those. As I mentioned, we've already started the interim field work. We have scheduled all of the local boards as well as the field work to finalize the city in the middle of March. If there's any audit findings at the conclusion of the audit, we will present a report with that with respect to any difficulties, any significant matters that may have come up, and just anything of governance interest. In the other matters paragraph, we just want to bring your attention. If there's any significant matters that you are aware of, please feel free to contact me directly, and we can definitely look into that and report back to the chair. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you very much for your presentation. This is the first item on our agenda, so if you want to stay there, we'll put it on the floor and see if there's any questions at that time. Okay. So can I have a mover and a seconder to put all the separated items on the floor? Councillor Sullivan, Councillor Caputo. All right, item 6.1, first item, questions? Oh, looks like you're getting off easy. Thank you very much for your presentation, and we look forward to the report when it comes. Seeing nothing further, we'll call the question.
Item 6.1.1 carries unanimously on a recorded vote. Those voting in favor, Mayor Davis, Councillor Sullivan, Councillor Van Tilburg, Councillor Hunt, Councillor Caputo, and Councillor Martin.
Okay, brings us to 6.1.2, paramedic services. Mayor Davis.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So I wanted to tell, especially the new members of this committee, you're probably aware of it, but just as a refresher. So paramedics is operated by the County of Brant. They oversee it, similar to how we oversee social services. There is a joint committee with 3 members from County Council and 3 members from City Council. And we reviewed the budget this past summer. It was a fairly detailed process. Everybody agreed that it's necessary to add 1 ambulance to the fleet next year because of the overwhelming demand for services and the fact that they do get backlogged quite a bit at the hospital. And we originally had looked at doing that July 1st or January 1st. Then we asked staff to go back and provide us with some more information. And you find that at page 34 of 96. I don't know if you can share that for us, Melanie. So what we did was we looked at the cost and the practicality of having the ambulance set up July 1st, January 1st, and then dividing it because it's a 24-hour shift and there's 2 12-hour shifts. Doing 1 12-hour shift as early as January 1st and a second shift July 1st. That's option C. Option D was April 1st to start the service, the extra ambulance, and going to 24 hours July 1st. And part of the rationale there is that it was going to be hard for paramedics to have it up and running by January 1st. And so it was thought to be more practical to have the first 12-hour shifts starting March 1st. In fact, that's the resolution that we passed, that the first 12-hour shift of the new ambulance would start March 1st, thinking being that by then the staff would be hired and trained and in place, and then moving up to a full 24-hour shift using the ambulance, the new ambulance, 24 hours a day starting July 1st. Part of that was for financial reasons, but also to assist in the process of hiring new paramedics, having them trained, having them in place. So it was unanimous, the decision of the committee to approve this. I think we did that in September. So I'm asking the committee, I think it's worthy of our support. When we do have a joint committee that with the county, when we're operating a joint service, and if that oversight committee reaches a unanimous recommendation, I think it's only appropriate. I mean, we're not rubber stamping it here, but I think out of respect to the efforts of that committee and the work done by the county staff, the paramedic staff in support of that, that we approve this. So I'm urging the members to approve this as it's presented. It does have a significant impact on our budget, but we know the demand is there, the need is there, and I think it's the right thing to do to add one more ambulance. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. I had a few questions. Perhaps you might be able to answer. So I don't know if there's anybody else here who can. Is this creation of a commander level positions, is that going forward as well as adding a new ambulance?
Sorry, I know we discussed that. I just can't remember. There were so many things happening in September that I forgot.
Okay, well, I'm on the paramedic committee now, so that's something I'll find out. Oh,
If I can, through
Yeah.
to you, Mr. Chair, through you. I met with the paramedic chief this morning. Part of our shared service agreement, both on paramedics and social services, is the exact same agreement. They have invited our GM, which is part of the agreement, to come to their county council next Tuesday to speak to their council about social services budget. We have, and our treasurer worked on this with the clerk, invited the paramedic chief to come to city council next on Tuesday if there's any questions of this budget. He's on alert. I was with him this morning. I toured his building and we talked about a few things about his new build and things like that. But he is on alert to come if there's any questions that you may have that he can deal with at city council on Tuesday night if you so wish.
yeah, I also had some questions about the budget. One of the things in here is an increase in the cross-border billing. And I'm wondering if that's needed if we're adding a new ambulance or whether that's something that needs to be reduced. Yeah, so if you could let them know that.
And we talked about that this morning, but again, he would have more details. Part of we would bring him the finance committee, but the agreement says he's to come to the city council, not to finance committee. So that's why we invited him Monday. So he's ready to come Monday night, Tuesday night. Tuesday. Sorry, I apologize.
Okay, Mayor Davis.
Yeah, the other thing is that Chief Kings he's very open to you. If you have any questions when you look at these reports, just calling him directly. And if you have any questions, he's quite happy. In fact, is pleased when members do contact him with questions. So feel free to do that.
Just prior to the vote, as Councillor Martin mentioned in the beginning, Clause D of this report does require a 2/3 vote as it uses the council contingency reserve. So we're going to vote on Clause D first and then the remaining clauses after. And Clause D of item 6.1.2 does achieve the necessary 2/3, those voting in favor. Mayor Davis, Councillor Sullivan, Councillor Van Tilburg, Councillor Hunt, Councillor Caputo, and Councillor Martin. And now we will vote on the remaining clauses. All remaining clauses of item 6.1.2 carry unanimously on a recorded vote. Those voting in favor, Mayor Davis, Councillor Sullivan, Councillor Van Tilburg, Councillor Hunt, Councillor Caputo, and Councillor Martin.
Okay, thank you. There are no resolutions on tonight's agenda and there are no notices of motion on today's agenda. So that brings us to adjournment. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you at the next meeting.